Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Oh, here.
Mr. Bowman. Mrs. Burns.
Here.
Mrs. Delaney. Here. Mrs. McBride.
Oh, here.
Ms. Mungo.
Here.
Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Dr. Singh.
Here.
Mrs. Morgan.
Here. All right, prior to tonight's meeting, we had executive at 5:30. We just finished up about 5 minutes ago, and we discussed personnel matters. All right, so presentations, comments from residents on agenda items. One at a time, don't all stand up.
Don't rush to the
All
point.
right, we have no one here. Next would be board member discussion items. Start with Cheryl. Anything?
Not right at the minute, no,
Okay. Susan?
no. Remember, can I talk about what residents have mentioned to me that they'd like us to discuss? One, and I tried to explain it, maybe Dr. Ross says I can go back. They wondered why we did not keep the middle school on the same campus, and I had been told by Dr. Short that we didn't have the area, the space of the park to do that. And that's pretty much what I told them. And then others that had asked me had said, why do we keep raising taxes? So that's a long answer to any short answer to why the taxes seem to keep going up. I mean, I could go in a number of directions when residents ask me that.
Just,
Mike, you want to?
Yeah, real quick, we're basically raising taxes because we've been revenue neutral for like the last 4 years
And I kind of said that.
because
I don't hear it.
of the I hate to keep beating it up, but the culminating ratio, we've been traditionally around 52 million on our real estate revenue, which is 50% of our revenue. It's our biggest source of revenue is right there.
Right, okay.
And so just by raising taxes, we're staying at a standstill. We're treading water. And we're in a good place just because this board put money aside to pay for the appeals that we've had to pay for other school districts and almost bankrupt. They're taking loans out just to make their balance, to get their budget to balance. Which we're in a good place. We just have to survive the storm.
And also
We're going to do everything in our power going forward not to raise taxes.
the state is still taking up the level up. And there's legislation right now on school finance. And so if that comes through, that would be a big win for us.
Mike's hitting it right on the nail, though. He's the way that's been the problem for the last 4 years.
Right.
Well, but just generally, every taxing entity, every taxing school district around town here is having this same problem. And as Guy has indicated, there's some legislation pending. Until there is a reassessment countywide, we're going to continue to have this problem. If you think you have problems, you should go to the city of Pittsburgh. I don't know how they don't go into recovery. I don't know how they are going to support their system down there with all the empty buildings and the reduction in taxes because of the common level ratio formula. So overall, you've kept your head above the water, and it's very, very difficult to continue to do that without some sort of equity in this taxing authority. And that again comes with a reassessment, and it's unpopular. None of the politicians want to tackle that, but until it happens, I don't know what you do.
There was a really good, did you see in the Times Express and the Tribune Review explanation, an article about why this was happening? That would have been, the Times Express is community-wide, of course, Pitt County doesn't
Yeah,
get
they
that.
talked about Allegheny County.
Yeah, and they explained it. If anybody wants to Google that, I thought it was a good explanation that people can understand that it's not us.
I have
It's the
several
whole-
articles from the
Yes.
Times Express.
Yes.
And if anybody wants any of them, I can provide them. There's a whole host of them, all saying pretty much what we're saying.
Exactly. And the other thing too, the state, we have to have our budget done by the end of this month, but they play around with their budgets, and we're supposed to be, oh, crystal ball, what are we going to get from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which messes us up. So, that's not fair either. I mean, if we've got to be done by the end of June, hey, Harrisburg, you should be done when we're supposed to be done, so we have a handle. And I know there's talking about hearings and various other sundry things, which, John, we should all truck out or go to our elected officials, because that's not fair. It's been like this forever.
Well, when you say sure, they play around, let me see if I can characterize that a little bit more
You can
politically
clarify it.
incorrect for you. That is, when the pressure, for the deadline comes, then when one side speaks and says, okay, so give me this one thing and then we'll vote for it, and the other side says, okay, I'll give you that thing if you give me this thing. So those negotiations get faster and faster because there's the advantage of having that deadline in sight. But then the negotiations spin out of control because everybody wants a specific thing or two for their own home districts. So that's the reason why it happens every year. They just don't agree on it ahead of time. They take advantage of the fact that the deadline is approaching to help win their appeals to the other legislators.
Yeah, that's because we have the largest state legislature in the country, even though we don't have the most population, we're the largest size. And that's why they play these games.
We should
And
export
we
them to
have-
Ohio or.
I've been wanting to send them to New Jersey for years. Somebody could get a bus and send them to New Jersey. But it's also because of that. They're playing games. And we pay the price.
Did you have anything else? Thank you, Cheryl. Did you have anything else?
Well,
Susan?
Well, one more thing that you could talk to the residents about, that is the price of everything has gone up. Like I say, the price of eggs used to be 99 cents,
Hear
now
that,
it's
but of course you
$3.99.
say that.
So the school district can't just say, well, we're going to pay 99 cents and hold taxes down for each dozen of eggs. We can't simply just decide to do it because everything does cost more.
And I tell them, we want to still always have quality education. We don't want to keep releasing teachers' programs and cutting, and that costs money
And
to
like-
maintain that.
Like Mike says, we are not getting more and more money. We're simply maintaining the level of education that we've been providing all these last years. We're not rolling in dough here. We're still struggling. We're doing our best to continue to struggle the best we can.
Yeah, you don't want to keep cutting into it.
You definitely don't want to do that, because then we would start sliding.
Light, but that's where we
down.
belong.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to always, people are going to gripe no matter what I tell them, but, yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Someone else asked, now she said, they said, are we going to continue using UP for the early childhood program?
The pre-K? Yes, for next year. Yep.
Yeah, they didn't know if it would be expanded anywhere else, so we just going to have it. Okay, that's it.
When do we get to reapply for monies? Like a couple years?
5 years.
Oh, we have to wait all
Yeah.
5 years.
They said there's sometimes extra funding, then we'll get notice, but haven't received any notice yet.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Do you have anything? Thank you.
Thank you.
Leslie?
No,
Discussion? Jack?
Nope.
Donna?
Nope.
Chrissy? John? Okay, all righty. Yeah. All right. And minutes from previous meeting. Need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Any against?
Anyone against? All right, the ayes have it. Financial reports.
Mr. Zarellis?
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. Financial reports list of bills, 5.1 for June of 2026 or 2024. 5.2 financial statements for May of 2024 and budget transfers 5.3. Now I wanted to note on the budget transfers, if you had a chance to look at it, we're transferring $480,000 from the general fund to the construction fund to cover the construction fund invoices for the month of June. Thank you.
Is this the first time we've gone into the general fund?
Yes,
For, okay.
I milked it for as much as I could.
So we need a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
All right, any discussion?
Not happy about it, about transferring money, but how far along, do we see any more this may be happening?
Until we get it paid down, it's probably going to be roughly around 2.8 million when it's all said and done. But
That
we're
we're
not going to
transferring?
be done. The contractors ain't going to get paid for a while till they do their checklist and everything signed off on by the by Doug and by by somebody from the school. Everything's, they have a punch list or a checklist, I guess you'd call it, what they go through. We withhold payment from them until everything is agreed upon for final payment.
What there is right now, to add to what Mike has said, there has been, I believe, issued a temporary occupancy
Right.
permit for administration. However, the primary or the occupancy permit won't be issued until such time as all the punch list items are taken care of.
Right.
That's coming, I believe, in the next month or so. I hope we get that occupancy permit for that so that school can start there. That's still out in the air, and, you know, our engineers have told us that it's going to be completed. So we're going down that road.
Right.
And, you know, I think that overall, it looks beautiful from the outside. I haven't been in it.
It's beautiful on the inside.
It is. I mean, it's quite a feat. So while it's cost a lot of money, a lot of consternation, it's really a beautiful setup over there.
The community will be pleased.
I think so.
Yeah.
I agree.
And we will continue the education that we give our students.
It'll be better for your education.
And Mike, just think, so you said up to about 2.8 million, but that's in the budget, right? So the
Right.
budget we approved included
The
the
trans-
planned expenditures that we'll have.
They ought to
now.
come
So
out of the fund
these-
balance.
The budget transfers are above and beyond what we already have in the budget. Okay.
All right. Any other question, discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Vogel?
Right.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney?
Aye.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Mrs. Mungo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Dr. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
All right.
So, Robin, before we go on, Bill said something I'd like to respond to and try to characterize. You said we have to dip into our rainy day fund, and it's sort of a sad thing that we're backing into a corner to do it. You could view it that way. We all don't like to dip into the rainy day fund, but this board set aside that money particularly so that we could dip into it when we needed it. Now we need it. We don't like to do it.
Right.
And I'm happy that we don't like to do it. But like someone has said, it's there for us to use because we've had the patience to set it aside. Now it's time to use it, and we fill it up as soon as we can, and that's going to be hard to do as well, but that's our job.
Correct, Mr. Ritter.
All right, personnel.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. We have the employment of 11 teachers, 1 school psych, 7 supplementals as listed, 1 district volunteer. The approval of the collective bargaining agreement by and between the Gateway Board of School of Directors and Teamsters Union Local Number 205, effective July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2028. The MOU for Gateway Cyber Academy with the GEA, and approval of the contract for Dr. Guy Rossi as Superintendent of Schools effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027.
So moved. Second.
Questions, discussion?
I have a question about the teachers. We used to say where they were going and what grade. Are we not doing that anymore?
So for the format of this, we have removed that as a whole. I think that a lot of these positions as well are TBD. We're trying to secure people as soon as possible to ensure that they will be here for this school year. So we will update the board. We do have a live document amongst administrators showing where we're placing people, but a lot of these individuals are still waiting for the bidding and transfers to conclude to be able to place them within their positions.
But don't some teachers, can't they only be the science teacher or only be a math teacher? So,
There are some in here, the vast majority of these individuals are special ed.
okay.
And then how many additional teacher openings do we have?
I can share that with the board. I apologize. I do not have it off the top of my head. We were just reviewing that earlier today. We've had a good bit of checkerboarding this year, which in comparison to last year, we did not. So there's been a lot of, so there's been a lot of movement within the district. So a lot of people leaving their current position to go to another building. So we've been through three rounds of bidding and 3 rounds of transfers thus far. So it's complicating this process. Unfortunately, what last year was a lot more straightforward, cut and dry, because we went through 1 round and that was it. There's a lot of movement to track this year. I'll be putting out a 4th round of transfers tomorrow morning.
How do we compare to other school districts when recruiting? I mean, are we capturing these new certified teachers that are graduating, coming out of school? Are we catching them early, or are we getting what other schools did not pick?
So that's
I hate to say it that way, but are we at the end of the harvesting season or at the beginning of it?
So-
I want us to be at the beginning.
I think right now we're kind of in the middle, which is why we're trying to move up the July date to a mid-July meeting. Dr. Rossi and I have been in extensive conversations about really reinventing the wheel on recruitment, because if you're not interacting at the college level, preparing people who are having contact with individuals who are preparing to graduate and trying to establish that relationship, you're going to miss out on a lot of the top talent. And so it's honestly a responsibility for the two of us to really make that a priority as we move forward with the teacher shortage. We've been buffered from that, luckily, where we have historically had multiple individuals on 1-year contracts. We've done a great job of trying to get ahead of the curve to secure those individuals. We're still working through that process and have a handful of others that we're still trying to follow up with. But as I said, we're trying to do this in as quick of waves as we can to secure individuals, to hopefully not have anyone slip through the gaps here. Ideally, I think Dr. Rossi and I have said it multiple times in the last 2 weeks, we need to get like a month ahead on this even still.
To your point, that's why we originally wanted to pass the budget in May. So we're going to try to stick to that next year if we can. We'll start the budget process a little earlier. If you pass the budget in May, then we can go along and make these offers. So if we wait June and, end of June and July, now we get what these other schools are
They've
beyond
already
that.
committed,
Yes.
they've already
Yes.
committed to other
Right.
schools.
Yeah. Right.
This is maybe a strange and unorthodox question, but if the budget, starting next year, can we add a little fund for employment that can roll over if the next budget isn't passed? Does that make sense?
It's a good question.
No, Leslie, don't give me another line item.
You're saying keep a little something in the stash.
Yeah, but literally earmark it for that, the following year. I didn't know if that's.
The budget next year should be a lot easier because we got them all behind us. There's a lot of issues that are going to be off the plate. So we can really concentrate.
More straightforward.
We won't have open negotiations either, hopefully. But between that and then also, that's why there's been urgency on our end to try to secure as many individuals as we can. And that's also why we've requested that the board allow us to hire 1 long-term sub per building to start to build a pipeline to pull from as well. Because if we can hire 6 additional educators, we have 6 people in reserves for when someone does go out on unexpected leave, and or the next year, we've already had a year of exposure to this individual and can start to see some of what they're capable of to easily move them into a permanent position, hopefully.
did you want to ask
So,
that question?
yeah, I was gonna say, the 12 that are on the employment here, are they checkerboarded, or are they all new?
These are all individuals who were previously hired through the district last year as 1-years.
Using the term checkerboarding, just out of sheer curiosity, do you ever want to know why they want to move? I mean, if that's, we're waiting to find out if everything settles down, then you'll know where to put people, right? If this is is that unusual that we have this level of movement? And if so, do we know why?
We do ask, but if a teacher's displaced, just say we don't need a second grade anymore, and it's going from 3 to 2. Now that teacher gets that in that pot. Yeah, and so, but if another teacher could bid into another position, and that position's now open, so that gets posted. It just keeps snowballing. Right. So some leave because they want to go from special ed to regular ed. They want to go from middle school to elementary. They want to go to elementary to middle school. There's various
When they
reasons.
came in, they didn't get the position
Exactly,
they wanted,
right.
and now there's an opportunity to get it.
That is something to keep in mind too. Our GEA contract does say that you're in the role that you were hired into for the first 3 years of you being a district employee. So it might be, for example, we had one individual who will likely be going to one of our elementary buildings from the middle school. They are going to be vacating a special ed position to go into a permanent vacancy at the elementary level. So, I mean, but they're also 10 years into their tenure here at the district. So, they were comfortable, now they're looking for a fresh start. I think we're seeing a lot of that type of movement at this point. I know I've heard a lot of comments from building administrators, they're looking for a fresh start, they want something to change. So, and it's more of a, they've hit that 6 to 10 year frame of being in the same role. And I for one, I welcome it. I think it's a good
They
thing.
want to do something different.
Now there's other.
It's not unusual at all. Many
No.
teachers, and some may have a personality conflict with, and some.
I was just wondering if it was
But
more, it
it's-
made it sound
yeah,
like it
I
was
don't
more
think it's
frequent.
unusual.
Well, you have to remember, this is only my first school district job. So last year it was very straightforward, one round and we were done. And I was like, yes, this is great, this was easy. And then this year I was like, Mike Jack, I actually called him back, I said, I lied, checkerboarding is happening, bear with me. So we kind of joked about it, but I assume that this is more of the norm. Last year probably was the anomaly, honestly.
Well, honestly, this in the past this would drag in through July. It would into August sometimes, and obviously we don't want that.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay.
Question
Go
on
ahead.
the school psychologist. Will this person be in-house or will it be?
Yep.
She'll be a permanent. So we will have 2 psychologists at Gateway.
And this is one of the ones that was funded with the Lemon Grant.
Yes.
And this was the 11-month contract.
Yep.
Look at you guys,
Yeah.
you're on the ball.
We just studied before we come because I feel like there's expectations.
So last week, there was a long list of supplementals.
Much shorter this week.
Yeah, shorter.
Where'd they go?
This week it was just the ones you've actually identified.
Yes, correct. As we've discussed openly, we're looking to revamp our recruitment process for supplementals. So this is part of the fallout of that. We did not make the progress we were hoping. We've made, as you can see, the progress with the teacher roles, which ultimately is the top priority of the district. The supplementals will hopefully be in place for the July meeting is what our target is, between Don Hall, Dr. Rossi, Dr. Chaikin, and myself. So we're committed to getting across the finish line very soon here.
I'm assuming you put them in order based off of our, what we need right away.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, and you have to remember, there's a lot, those were all fall supplementals, academics, and music.
Yeah, right.
And music-related ones, so that list was very comprehensive. But for the most part, the supplemental ones are where we had multiple individuals that applied for the same role and/or there are some new faces to the mix as well that will require a little more interface, I think, to be able to get to know the candidates in the mix. So that's kind of where our hangup is. I believe the musical, most of the same people have applied, which is encouraging.
How many more supplemental positions in the sports world do you know that we have to fill?
Not off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's a good Don Hall question.
Yes, thank you, Robin, for that.
Ochal?
Yes. I'm here.
How many more openings do we have to fill as it pertains to sports with the supplementals?
I think we have individuals identified for all the roles except for maybe one or two. I apologize, I'm on an elliptical right now. We, but we, I think we have everybody identified that we need. We just have to go ahead and continue wrapping up the vetting and making sure all the paperwork is done, and then we'll appoint them in July for the fall.
Well, these are the same rates that we have paid in the past. Nothing has changed.
There's a 1% increase,
1%, yeah.
Okay.
and there's 37 positions still open for athletics specifically. Now, keep in mind, not every one of those positions had someone even express interest in, so our initial markers that we put on the study session agenda were hopeful that every position would be filled. That's typically not the case, as I'm sure Dawn can allude to as well. We're usually trying to find additional individuals to fill voids along the way.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, how many independent volunteers do we have?
District-wide? 1 second, ma'am, I can get you that.
Just, I mean, I was just curious.
I believe it's
Go everywhere.
any building.
Needed.
And do what, like the parties or the
Mostly chaperone.
chaperone?
That's the big for it.
They're just not tagged for something, I think. When you fill it out, like, you can say that you're there for like a specific school or whatever activity, but in theory.
Former
it could be anywhere.
Yeah, I knew that name.
Total district-wide volunteers right now is sitting at 488 individuals.
How many?
488 independent volunteers with the district.
That is nice.
Yep. And we've been going through, updating, ensuring that everything is still active and asking individuals to resubmit things as Haley's been transitioning into her role. So, yeah, we have a high participation rate.
Are we still requiring TB tests?
That is on the agenda for policies to be modified. Our hope is to no longer do so.
Okay. And also, there was talk about the theater guild that we were looking into for middle school. Has anything more that has developed?
Not yet. I've talked with Mr. Lasik about that. He's gathering some information. If anything, it'd probably be a spring, I'm thinking at this point, but at least to get it rolling and started.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion?
I'm going to ask 6.7. Are you okay with this?
Good? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, that was a really good question, actually.
Want to make sure.
Yes.
Because we're about to vote.
Yeah.
Great question.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Boyce? Aye. Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney?
Aye.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Ms. Longo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Dr. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
All right. You're stuck with us.
Thank you. All right. Dr. Jakey, education.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. For item 7.1, we have Heath Wazo, NRA certification course to become instructor. Item 7.2, MOU between Monroeville Police Department and Gateway School District. Item 7.3, proposal for System 123 services for social and emotional outcomes in the amount of up to $60,000. Item 7.4, agreement between Emergis Healthcare Staffing and the Gateway School District for the 24-25 school year. Item 7.5, agreement between the Children's Institute and the Gateway School District for the upcoming school year. Item 7.6, agreement between La Roche University and Gateway School District for dual enrollment for the 24-25 school year. Item 7.7, Jennifer Hoffner, Educators Neighborhood. Item 7.8, agreement with Spring Math and Gateway School District for a 3-year contract, $11,726 per year for the 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27 school years. Item 7.9, agreement between Gateway School Police and Gateway School District for compensation and benefits plan, July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. Item 7.10, approval of NWEA MAP growth K-12 in the amount of $26,600. Item 7.11, approve the MOU with Teach Plus for involvement with the Equity Leadership Institute. Item 7.12, TCV letter of agreement with Gateway School District for Student Assistant Program. Item 713, agreement with Bayada and Gateway School District for nursing services for the 24-25 school year. Item 714, approve the following policies for display as listed.
So moved. Discussion, questions?
I have a lot of questions, actually. Dr. Chafee, can you clarify the work? S123 services, I looked them up, and I think we talked about it before, they're more like behavioral specialist kind of things, working with IEPs and that kind of stuff. But how is that in relationship to Devereaux? Because we've had Devereaux before.
Well, starting with the System 123, they're behavioral consultants that they'll work on things, for example, like a functional behavior assessment for students, and they'll jump in there and kind of fill the void that the pupil service department needs a little bit of resources around. Okay. So that'll run through the pupil services department, and that'll be determined by them as to how much they need to use System 123. And Devereaux, this letter of agreement is an organization that will provide student assistant program guidance for the district. And with our SAP teams within the high school and the other schools, they're going to provide some guidance as to some of the process and the parameters around that.
Okay. I just, sometimes when I look at this, I wonder, is there an overlapping in any way with some of these services as far as how do they work in conjunction with one another? So that's why I was wondering about that. Also, MAP. That's the MAP testing?
Yes.
There's something online that you had sent us was talking about adding 8th grade. Is that correct? So
Yes.
is this add 8th grade? Because it says K through 12.
Yes, it'll be through 8th grade this year.
This year, we're going to add it, and then expanding it beyond 8th grade after, no, or how far up do they go?
I think this is their title. Their title is K through 12. We're just doing it K through 8.
We're doing K through 8.
Yeah.
And I think I had asked before, at what point will we see, because that's a good thing to see about the scores, because we're not going to see the PSSA scores until, what, August or wherever, and that's the state assessment.
They're trickling in.
And that's not every year, but this will be an annual thing. Like first, second, third, fourth, we'll see a progression. So when is it possible to see any kind of?
What we'd probably like to do next year is once the PSSA results and the Keystone results come in, do a comprehensive data.
Together.
Yes, yep.
You're going to add all the test scores.
We'll do a little report. Yep.
Yeah, because this is ongoing. This is
Yes.
from year to year to year. Where the
Yeah.
PSSA.
So just so everyone knows, we were K4 and then we added 5th grade,
Right.
and then 6th grade, and then 7th grade, and now we're adding 8th grade to the mix.
And that's your vision, just to go to 8th grade,
It'll
which
be
would be
comparative too, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of like the old assessment testing where you could cumulatively see
Yep.
a progression from year to year,
Yep.
which you can't see on the PSSAs. Okay, so we'll see that eventually. And also, question, you had said under the policies on display, of course, there's a lot of national discussion about policy 103 and 104, Title IX. You said something, the IU, you were going to have somebody come out and do presentations.
Yep, she did last week.
She did,
Yep.
and when did we get to find out what was said and
I can
done?
send you there's a video of it. I can send that to you. That's actually the IU one. So I
How
can,
do we get our questions? Was it attorneys that came out?
the
How do we
IU
get our
sponsored it.
questions?
You could just maybe list them and I can provide them to her. Yeah, if you'd like.
I'm going to give you a very
Yeah.
long list
Yeah.
because apparently there's 26 states who are now in federal court over these changes.
Right.
So 10 so far in one of their cases
Right.
being, so I'm just curious where we're at in Pennsylvania as far as this goes.
I heard with our legislation update that Pennsylvania is not one of those. So
No.
we do have a deadline of August 1st,
You did.
which complicates things if Pennsylvania is going to enter into that. But we're planning on August 1st. We have to, onboarding and training everybody on the regulations.
I'm just concerned
Yeah.
because there's a lot of apparently legal things because it was put through an executive order versus
Right.
congressional
Yeah.
legislative process. So now the problem is all the questions legally are coming up
Right.
after the fact. And I just I don't want to get blindsided. I don't want to see us blindsided because that's happened in a few districts. So I want to understand this. So you can send that to all of us or
There's a password in there. I'll send it to you though.
to
Yeah.
everybody so
Yeah.
everybody can take taking a look-see and.
About 2 hours,
It's 2 hours long.
roughly, hour 50 minutes.
Okay, and you're going to be good when we start asking questions?
Maybe I'll put a doc together, and then you can just maybe add questions to your, any questions you have to the Google Doc.
Yeah.
And then
in case it's repetitive.
repetitive, right?
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
How are we with our nurses, our staffing?
So we are actually meeting with the nurses tomorrow to discuss outstanding concerns for the year ahead. Just as we said last year, we think that we're in a place to have all the positions filled, but last year that all fell apart pretty quickly, to be honest with you. We will have an agreement put in place for whatever period of time Dr. Rossi, Mrs. McCrone and I come to consensus of, with Dr. Chaky's assistance as well, for the nurses' agreement, as their agreement is set to expire June 30th of this year. So as we discussed previously as a board, trying to figure out what is competitive and capable, especially with doing the cost benefit analysis of what we're paying third-party vendors to fill these voids in comparison to what we're assuming the liability of paying our own.
Dr. Rossi, I have a question on 7-8, the spring math. I know that that was one of the things that you identified as a deficit in the elementary schools and implemented this. How long has it been implemented now?
We'll be going on 3 years. We've been adding, sort of like we do with the map, we're adding a grade level a year. So this year we'll be down to first grade, and UP will be piloting it in kindergarten in January.
And the outcomes of this, since I have identified the deficit?
It's more about the computational, the computation part of math. And I will tell you, when talking to some fifth grade teachers, they're seeing a difference. I talked to 2 teachers in particular who said that from last year, they saw what fourth grade was able to do in fifth grade. So they don't have to spend as much time mentally adding, subtracting, dividing, multiplying. And so there's some things built in as well with enrichment and remediation. So for kids who are struggling or need enrichment, it's embedded in part of that program. So we'll be moving that down to first grade.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I just wondered.
It's quick. It's 10 or 15 minutes. Once the teachers get to routine, is the hard part. But once they get to routine, it's 10, 15 minutes a day.
So the upper level teachers saw.
Yes. Yep.
Once you implemented
Yep.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One other question. What is the status of our dean of students? Are we going to continue to have that? Do you know?
Yeah, it's in the budget. He'll be back next year.
That position was bid out and
Yeah.
awarded
Yeah.
a while ago, just, we had put that in the budget, and that was one of the positions that we wanted to maintain in the budget.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
Dean of students.
Did we have to
Students,
vote on that?
yes.
Is it in a board doc?
No, because he's transferring, since it's a transfer to another position. That's part of the other thing too, that Dr. Rossi and I've discussed. We used to have extensive personnel agendas because we showed every movement. We're not required, if it's a lateral, we're not required to show that transfer. So we're not going to continue to add that to the agenda just because they're all moving within the confines of the CBA.
Would it be possible for the board to see the movement?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think similar to what Leslie you referenced previously, the document that I had last year, I'll make that accessible to all of you. I just would like to get through the transfer and bidding process and then share out what our interview process has been so far, along with who's moved to what positions.
Okay.
So that's all been thoroughly documented and shared with a top-level administration up to this point. Just trying to get through all the red tape at the moment.
I have a question about 7.6. Do we have agreements with any other universities for dual enrollment?
We do. Yeah, we have, I mean, one of the great things, we do have a lot of college and high school agreements, within Gateway. This is for a new agreement with La Roche.
Okay.
Looking at, there's 2 courses, social dynamics in education and also oral communication will be designated as an option for students.
Nice.
Can
Okay.
I ask a question off of Robbins? Susan and I belong to the Rotary, and each year we award our seniors scholarships. But talking with Franklin Regional, they work with colleges that they give the students so many credits that they make a scholarship in their name to receive credits, that they could take the college courses.
So it's a monetary equivalent.
Correct.
Either have the money or the courses for free, or either one.
Well, no, we wanted, instead of giving them the money, we wanted to put it towards the credits. So the students can take credits that they could, like a couple that we talked to at Franklin, they've already finished 1 year with so many credits that they had.
That's clever.
So is it possible that we could, I mean, I know this is a resolution, but with all the schools that we are working with, that we could maybe do something like that?
We'd have to talk to Franklin because you'd have to start that in their sophomore year because they have to take the class.
Okay.
And so you pay the credit, so it's roughly $250. So if we're awarding that their senior year, when, in fall, fall or spring of their senior year, it's too late. So we'd have to do something probably separate, I would say,
Okay.
to do that.
Because,
But it'd be like a reimbursement though.
well, like what we do is we give them $1,000, but we don't know what they use it for. This, at least we know it would be going towards their education.
Yeah, mini scholarship, it has to go directly to the
School.
institution. The Rotary feels, well, they may need it for
Books, housing.
Gas, and whatever incidental, so they have always given it directly to the students.
Just out of curiosity, because Gateway, I remember they used to have it like for like AP calculus. You could either do that or you could take the credits. And then it would have to be, do you guys consider transferable from one? Because if you talk about doing it when they're a sophomore, but you're talking about when they're seniors, when they're older, because you were saying something about a sophomore, because then they would have to say they took a credit. They used to be able to take a credit at Pitt to do the AP calculus in lieu of taking the AP test. And so, but you had to know where you were going because the credits have to be transferable.
So you have to know when you're in the course. We couldn't do this retroactively.
Right, but you're waiting down further down the road.
Oh, I'm going to reach out to Franklin. I just wanted to.
Yeah, just see how they, maybe they're just doing it that way. Or if they're doing it a different way, just let us know. Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions?
The 7-Eleven Teach Plus. Sounds like a wonderful program. Where did this come from?
Teach Plus was added after the study session. This is a program that our equity coordinator, Dr. Rhonda Threet, is familiar with. Basically, it's a networking opportunity for our teachers that'll be conducted after school hours. And they'll be able to get to know some of the other educators from within the equity field, and they'll talk with them about identifying and analyzing school data to make sure that we're building capacity with our teachers and our individuals here to be able to make sure that we can provide all the equity resources.
And it doesn't cost the district anything, and they help pay the teachers? Is that what?
Yeah,
it
the
comes
teachers
to?
actually receive a stipend after hours for their work, and it doesn't cost the district anything.
Wow, that's good. Amazing. Wow, program. Thank you.
All right, there's nothing else?
Actually, one other thing. This is sort of relative to police, but actually for you, Mike, I had asked to find out what we paid in the road bill.
Yes, I do, sir. So far this year for the extra duty from Monroeville Police is $27,354.
Is that the 23-24 school year, or is that January to?
This is July. July 1st of last year to current.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yeah.
7.3 thousand.
$27,354.
You have that broken down for what event?
Not with me,
But this is both events and when they cover a school.
just extra duty. It doesn't cover like football, things like that. It's just for like when they were filming it, I think it was at Rams on a Friday, we would need it.
So this
Things like that.
27.3 is just the.
Just for that, yeah.
That's really what I wanted to see. Thank you.
Because we've, so far this year, since we're on the subject, we've paid them $40,672. But of that, 27,000 was just for the extra duty, like for a day. It doesn't include sports and basketball, or anything in other events that they cover.
Right. The 27.3 is just when to cover, we don't have an SRO.
Schools.
Yeah, got it. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Say, take it now, Robin.
All
take it
right,
now.
roll call. Mrs. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Booth?
Aye.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney? Aye. Mrs. McBride? Aye. Mrs. Margot? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Dr. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
All right, let's have it. Administrative resolution.
All right, Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. Item 8.1, approve the Gateway Middle School change orders as listed. Item 8.2, approve the Forbes Road Career and Technology Center Revenue Anticipation Note Series 2024-2025. Item 8.3, approve the Tricog Land Bank's Notice of Proposed Property Disposition. Item 8.4, approval of federal funds preliminary allocation for the 24-25 fiscal year. Item 8.5, approve the renewal and premium payments for the district student insurance coverage for the 24-25 fiscal year. Item 8.6, approval of sale of obsolete and damaged technology department equipment. Item 8.7, approval of renewals and premium payments for district insurance coverage policies for the 24-25 fiscal year. Item 8.8, approve the continued appointment of Michael Socrates Zarelius, business manager of district school board treasurer for a one-year period commencing July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Item 8.9, approve in accordance with section 621 of Pennsylvania School Code the designation of Dollar Bank as the district's depository of funds for a one-year period from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Item 8.10, approve in accordance with section 440.1 of the Pennsylvania School Code the continued investment of district funds with one or more following financial institutions as listed. Item 8.11, approval to advertise for bids, grass cutting and trimming district-wide. Item 8.12, approval for shredded year-end confidential documentation and destruction. Item 8.13, approve the revision of the public school facility improvement grant program.
Need a second. Okay. All right, questions, discussion.
Yeah, I know that we've discussed it and looked at the bids intensely, but the dollar bank change, it's just for 1 year. They wouldn't offer the rates in.
Well, the rates are locked in. In the RFP, it's a 3-year contract, but according to school code, you have to approve them every year.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you. I thought I missed something. I did.
Jack, curiosity. I don't know how often you guys have meetings at Forbes, and I know this is an anticipation note, but I'm just curious about something. With all these post-secondary career and technology schools closing, has there been any conversation at Forbes about picking up kids or doing something different? Because now the kids, there are less places for them to go in the area. And I didn't know if there's any conversation yet about Forbes doing anything different, or I hate for those kids to lose those opportunities.
First of all, enrollment is setting records for the last
Yes, I
couple
know
of years. And also the schools that have closed were typically adult education schools. So although ultimately that will affect, everybody at the level, at the high school level, that there's not an immediate impact. That said, if kids were thinking that that's an avenue they were going to follow, and those options are indeed dwindling, yeah, we may see an even bigger uptick in enrollment, which would be wonderful and also problematic because we're already running out of space there. So, like here, you run out of space, you come up with a solution.
The only reason I wonder, when they were showing it on the news, a lot of the people they interviewed were kids that weren't that much older. Maybe they had graduated from high school and went on to a 2-year program, and they were like maybe 20 and whatever. So I'm thinking, is that going to make kids think about this more when they're in high school, because there's no place for them to go get this training?
Well,
Now that's a couple of these
potentially
things.
also might make them think about it less. Because
Well, that's scary.
if you are, thinking far enough ahead about what's going to happen after high school, and you utilize Forbes Road as a prep, and then you start to recognize there maybe aren't as many options in terms of formal education, does someone reconsider? I don't know. It could go either way,
Right.
There are still options out there, and as you probably read, a couple of CCAC is
Right.
picking up classes along with, I forgot.
Point Park.
Point Park, yes. So hopefully with all the other educational entities we have in the area, they'll pick up, and perhaps, when we're at the other end of this, we'll find a stronger program for, these kids and these opportunities. But no, we'll talk about it at our
Yeah,
next
just
meeting.
let us know how this is going at Forbes, and there that conversation comes up.
At Forbes, you can go and unions bringing these kids right out of high school for apprentice and I don't know what the other word, like laborers and stuff, even though it's in their field to start them. So I'm assuming Forbes would have.
There was an article in the Post-Gazette about the trade unions in response to the closings that they posted something in the Post-Gazette.
Yeah, they would probably go and invest more. They invest in that too. So it's probably even more wanted, especially kids are in trades because they have that brain and that I could never electrically do anything, right? Versus the academic brain, and going into a union, I think, would be more.
Well, my nephew is a steam fitter, pipe fitter, and he did that. He went through the union. I want to tell you, he said the test to get into that was harder than the SAT when he took it. So it's.
They also have some positions or trades that you don't typically think of,
Exactly.
like tourism, CAD or graphic designs. So yeah, it is a big loss to the community, but we, with Forbes, this is a great program, and hopefully kids will want to jump into it sooner.
That would be excellent if
Yeah.
you do that sooner.
There's still career paths or education paths out there too. I don't know if Jack, they've ever discussed Westmoreland County Community College, their Advanced Technology Center. It's a phenomenal site. It's at the old, I think it was Sony or Phillips plant out towards Mount Pleasant. At my last job, we worked closely with the U.S. military because we produced seamless high pressure vessels for the nuclear submarines, and that's part of what that was a huge pipeline for us. So I can't say it loud enough for kids who want the hands-on trades, and that's what they're going for. Westmoreland County Community College is a phenomenal program, so keep that in mind.
And they don't have to be a resident of Westmoreland County Community College. There's a crossover.
They have a great facility. I would highly recommend if they've never gone to tour, it's phenomenal. It's beautiful. I can't believe what they were able to create out there.
We have great guidance counselors, so I'm sure they're going to direct them to these opportunities that are out
Yeah,
there.
it's just unfortunate that this happened, and that's why I was curious. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Sad.
All right, so any other questions? All right, I guess it's roll call again, right?
Mrs. Boyce?
Hi.
Mr. Bowden?
Aye.
Mrs. Burns? Aye. Mrs. Lane? Aye. Mrs. McBride? Aye. Ms. Longo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter? Aye. Dr. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
I except for 8.3. Shocker.
I just wanted to double check.
Now it's consistent.
Yeah, she is for sure.
He raises that question every time, and it's a good question.
Yeah. All right, so board member resolutions, we have none. And comments from residents on non-agenda items, there's none. And now.
No residents.
There's no residents.
No comments, no residents, no comments.
Yeah,
All
we're not
right.
gonna read them on Facebook. They'd have to show up.
All right, administrative reports, Dr. Ross.
Right, just to update on the Gateway Middle School back-to-school events. As you can see, we'll push this out to families this week. Administration over there has identified days for each grade level, and there's also days for self-guided tours as well. And so we'll make sure we push this out to the appropriate grade levels, but we'll also put it on the webpage for families to see. And then we do have a grand opening tentatively scheduled we moved it to Tuesday, August 12th, having a community night. Yep.
What was the one with, before, when they had on the other sheet where you had the past school board?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, you'll get the invitation for that one, yeah.
Community is.
Yeah, the community night.
Is the 20th.
Because Monday was the board meeting and they were running out of time. Because the next day, that's an in-service day, the following day is a clerical.
So the school board is two.
Yeah, we didn't put the school board visit on there. Yeah, yep.
Can we have a gyro food truck?
Oh, would you stop?
All right, and then from last week's meeting, Mr. Bove, as part of the Health and Safety Committee, asked Dr. Trickey to put some information together regarding the school safety report for the school year. So we have some slides there. Mike, the slide not moving along.
Try one more time.
Okay, there we go. We're good.
Okay, we just wanted to provide you updates of some of the security-related trainings that took place here in the district this year. We did do the severe weather emergency, the bus evacuations, then also the ALICE drills. We began with ALICE introductions. Those were just where we had teachers talking to students about potential scenarios in the event that there's an intruder. We also moved to the tabletop scenarios. That is when the teachers met with students and they discussed certain scenarios and how that would play out. For example, if there was a teacher that was near the gymnasium, they may say, okay, there's an intruder in the gymnasium, what would we do? And they have a brainstorming activity where the different students will bring up questions and how they would react, and ultimately the teacher would make the decision as the adult as whether to stay in the room or leave the room or whatever course of action they're going to take to make sure that students are safe. So that's broken down into 3 different levels of the ALICE safety and security drills. Those were throughout the school year, and they were all on the same date. So if you have a child in elementary school and another child at the high school, they're all on the same dates. So you're well aware of these drills that are taking place.
There are no fire drills on there.
Fire drills as well. Yeah, we just didn't add those, but we do those as well, as part of the monthly drills. The other thing that we did this year too is we did an internal physical assessment of all the school buildings. A couple years back, we had the state police come in and do a risk and vulnerability assessment for each of the schools. We did our own this year to follow up on their assessment. Our Gateway School Police were involved, and also Monroeville Police walked the perimeter of the buildings and also in the interior of the buildings. We made different recommendations. We put those together, and they were really beneficial because we found some things like maybe there was a door that wasn't shutting properly, so we addressed that immediately, and some other items, but those were really beneficial. The other part is the open gate weapon detection system. Those are the new weapon detection systems that we're going to be ordering that was board approved. These are the more mobile systems where we can move throughout the district. They're good indoor, outdoor, and they're a fraction of the cost of some of the Evolve systems that we already have. And we do still have the 2 Evolve systems at Gateway High School. They were used at graduation, and there are some benefits of the Evolve as well. You may be familiar with those. Those are down at Acrisure Stadium and also at the casino as you're walking through. Just a little bit different technology, but each has its benefits. But we're going to receive some of the open gate systems. So that'll give us some flexibility to use it to sports events and any other extracurricular activities. Safe to say something. Most people are familiar with the safe to say something. For the 23-24 school year, we received 155 total tips through the system. And of those 155, we received 30 emergency phone calls. That's whenever it's a life-saving event or it's a very serious event, and we receive a phone call from Harrisburg. So of those tips, 30 times we received the phone call. And what ends up happening is someone will go on anonymously and say that, you know, I'm uncomfortable that my friend is reporting that they're in a Great Depression. So what Safe to Say does is they call us and we get on the system and we contact the parent. We also put in the student's demographics. So it can be on the weekend or late at night, and Monroeville Police is alerted, and Monroeville Police will send an officer to do a wellness check, whatever student. So that's been an excellent resource for us just to make sure that we're safeguarding students at all hours of the day.
Now, the 155, just for clarification, that isn't unique. There could be some duplicates, just so everyone's aware of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had a situation this year where we received multiple tips for the same thing. Now, what unfortunately what happens sometimes is there'll be a screenshot and someone will say that this is going to happen at a school. But then as students share this, it's good. Everyone's going to the Safe to Say program, but there could be like 20, 25 tips all about the same incident.
I wouldn't look at that 155 as a bad number. It lets you know that people are using it.
Yeah, it's great. Definitely.
And just like you said, it's not just used because something is wrong in the school. Somebody is depressed and doesn't want to say or
Right.
struggling. So, you know,
It's
they're
protecting a lot of people.
correct. And an amenity of the friend who didn't want to go tell.
Says a lot about our students as well, their maturity, because we don't receive a lot of prank tips. I mean, and when we do receive a prank tip, the law enforcement goes after that individual through the IP address, but that's not a real problem here, which it says a lot about the maturity of our students and their willingness to kind of take care of each other.
Dr. Chicky, one question on that with the Alice drills, as we go to the new middle school, or the revamped middle school, anything else, is there a plan for how we do like a transition into that, or like some pre-planning for that?
Yes, definitely. Mr. Jack and Miss Love are already looking at, each school revises their emergency operation plan every year, and that's presented to teachers in August. So they're already working with Gateway School Police in revising that plan, and then that'll be rolled out in August with teachers.
That's it? All right.
Thank you, Dr. Jakey, appreciate that.
Good stuff. All right, committee reports. I know this is the end of the year, and some of you have already had your final committee report. Any updated committee reports? Lisa?
I have a question there, Susan. Last we were talking about, right now, the committee is the Curriculum and Equity Committee, and there was a conversation about
Whether we
should split them. I don't know if what point we'd want to seriously talk about that. I mean, I can't remember who initially brought that up. Did you just initially, or was it Robin brought it up? And, if we want to consider doing that, if we would do that for the next school year, or how would we do that with splitting the two?
I mean, that can be discussed at the workshop.
Do you want to do it then? And
That's what I kind of thought, that's why I didn't pursue it.
Yeah, I was just, I
Or a
was just,
vote or anything.
yeah. It just,
But I think it'd be a
yeah.
good topic for them.
Right.
It just reminded when we were talking about the map testing, that sort of made me think about that. So, okay, so we'll wait and save that for that. That's fine. Okay, great.
Robin, I did have one. We have the Pennsylvania School Board Delegate Assembly proposals. We have like 4 or 5 that we've collected. So my computer melted down a couple of days ago. So as soon as I get my computer back up and running, I'll put those together. They're due Friday. So I'll send them out like tomorrow or Wednesday. Take a look at them, touches on them. We could vote to approve them and we'll get them out to Harrisburg by Friday.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I was going to mention too, I don't know how many are able to attend the, because I have a conflict, the summer theater camp that, are you aware of that? They're presenting Frozen. And this is at the Gateway High School auditorium. I went last year. What did they do last year?
Lion King.
But it was-
There's the Lion King.
Which one did they do last year?
The Lion King.
Yes, Lion King. And these are our students, and they'll be doing that Saturday, June 29th at the high school, and they have 2 settings. They have 3 p.m.
That's Saturday,
Yes.
29th, okay.
Yeah, I saw it on, I didn't know about it, and I was in the library, and they had it at the community event.
Good.
3 p.m. and 7 p.m., and $10 is suggested as a donation. And I thought that was good, and I know I supported them last year, and the kids were phenomenal, and they had so much fun with it. So if you are able, if I can, I'll try to get there myself, but if you are able. And then also, you still have 5 days left to wear orange. I looked at the statistics, I was online, and it said for the state of Pennsylvania, last year we had 1,600 killings by guns in the state of Pennsylvania. So I thought, if we had 1,600, and just for argument's sake, out of 50 states, and you multiply that times 1,600, it was 80,000 killings?
Yeah, the number's actually like 36,000, just as a matter of fact.
Okay, so I mean, I know it's less.
Just for what it's
But
worth.
I mean, just taking it to the max by just using that 1,600, unless we have
We have a
more
bigger
than.
state, so like my Wyoming, Montana.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But
that was like
just if you-
36,000.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is
That's
almost
even
exactly
bad.
the same as deaths in auto accidents. Strangely enough.
But 36,000 is a lot, but 80,000 was like mind-boggling. But that's all I wanted to say.
Anyone else?
Oh, I do have one thing. July 19 and 20 is the 50th reunion, class of 74. They wanted me to tell you that. Is SDOC still going to try to get something up on the board? Or-
50th reunion for Gateway.
Yes,
And they're gonna have a tour of the school?
tour of the school. And
Are you doing the tour?
Not mine.
actually, they actually had asked to have a student do it, which was,
There's a lot of history. The students couldn't do it. Bill Short has done it for a lot of years, and I've watched him do it. There's a lot of history that could go into it to make it fabulous.
be that as it may, they had requested a student, and I will do whatever we want and to get the tour of the school done. But if indeed we were going to use a student, there's a particular young man I would be perfect, but it doesn't matter. People wander around for their memory's sake, not to see development. The 20th would be the tour. It's the 19th and the 20th are the 2 days of the event.
Jack, did you graduate that year?
Anyone can go online, Facebook, Gateway 74.
You said what month?
July.
July. Is that your year, 74?
It is, yes. What? You can't believe it? No, I hear that, yeah.
Mine's 50 from Turtle Creek this year.
Well, there you go.
Okay. I just have also, I would want to wish everybody a safe and happy 4th of July, because that'll be here before you know it. And July 10th, we will be having our next food distribution at the high school, coming through the food bank. This month, we serviced over 732 families. So it is growing, and the need's there, and it's open to everybody. So,
Did you say how many things?
7:32. 6 o'clock to 7:30. That's it.
Are there people that are still in line when you cut it off at 7:30?
Yes, ma'am. And we make sure we take care of everyone.
Anyone else?
All right, so I need a motion to adjourn.
Do you need me to do anything for Scotty?
Hi, Susan.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
That
meeting's adjourned.